Here's a video on the 65 through 67 Ford Galaxie window cranks. You can usually find a lot of these with really nice chrome, but sometimes it's just this part is really nice, or just the knob itself is very nice. Sometimes you find them with the black plastic knob. If you want to have it be fully chrome, to remove these isn't that hard to do. Uh, the metal ones are a little bit more difficult, but I'll cover that in a minute. When it comes to these window cranks, there is a difference. Visibly, they are identical. I mean, looks wise, they're the same length, the same bottoms. Everything is pretty much the same on them. These chrome knobs are the same knobs used on the vent windows also. So from 65 to 67, all these knobs are the same. The difference on these is going to be the retaining screw. 65 and 66 uses this Allen head style screw. There you go. 67 uses a different one. 65 and 66, you can see that the well is a deep well for the screw. 67 is a shallow one. There is a version of 67 which is slightly different, but all 65 and 66 Galaxies use this. So when I say 65, I include 66. The part number is C5AB, and then the rest of it. 67 will be C7. The variant of 67 is this one. It's a slightly different part number, but they'll work. 67 will work in the 65 and 66. 66 will work in 67. But as far as the screw goes, when you use the correct screw for 65 and 66, it sits pretty much flush, just a little bit below it. When you try to use that screw on 67, you can see it doesn't sit flush, so you'll have to use a different screw. The oddity one, which is still 67, sits a little bit closer to flush. So if you're looking for 67, you just have to pay attention to that detail if you really want to get that nitpicky on it. But anyways, that's really the only difference between the two of them. Sometimes you can find these NOS. Good luck. It's easier to piece it together if you want the chrome one. Like I said, there's a ton of vent windows that always come up, the vent window cranks, so you can steal the knob off of those, and then again, whether one is better than the other. But to get the plastic off, I just sit there and put it in the vise. You can put it in there, clamp it down, and then I just take a propane torch and put the torch underneath here to get the plastic hot, and you can just kind of wiggle it off of there. You can use a screwdriver to do it. For getting the metal one off, it's a little bit more effort. You want it, these are the Craftsman screwdrivers. I'm sure everybody pretty much has these, but you want to start with the thinnest flathead possible, and I usually start coming down straight down the shaft with it and get it to where it at least gets started, and then you can use a slightly thicker one, and you're really trying to wedge them into there, and then you can keep increasing the wedge, which will help get that off of there. It takes a little bit of force. I do it on a wood block so it doesn't damage the chrome to it. It probably take you a couple minutes to do it on the first one, and then after a while it gets pretty easy to do. But some of these it can be hard to do. Getting the plastic off isn't that hard to do. But once you actually do get it off, just from using a screwdriver, let's see if it'll focus. You get a couple of little burrs in there, and when it sits on there flush and you rotate it, you might hear a little bit of grinding. I take a fine file and I just file the surface of this so it's smooth. I'll do the same thing on the base so that when these two are sitting together, that it's not making that grinding noise. It's nice and quiet when these, because these are actually supposed to roll. So, but there is a wave washer underneath there. So when you're trying to get these metal ones off, just push on the back of it, which will give you a separation, and then you can work on getting your screwdriver in there to separate it. These I've already done. When you're putting them together, you're going to need a vise. You could probably just hammer it in there, but I use a vise. It's a little bit easier to do it that way. I just take an index card and wad it up so I don't damage the face of the knob, and then you can press it together. Pay attention when you're doing it. So once you actually start getting this close, stop and take it out and check it, because it needs to have a little bit of slack in there, at least for the wave washer. So just recheck it and you should be able to sit there and push on it and have it separate out a little bit, the way that that knob will freely spin. But it's a little time consuming. The other difference will be, see if I get a nice looking one. 67. See if it'll show up. That's more of a smooth finish on that. There we go. 65 and 66 has more of a grain to it. It's a slight difference. But when you compare the two of them together, you can see the grain on this one, and that one's kind of smooth. The same thing on that. So there is a difference on it. There's another 65. So, but that's how you get them together and separated. I think this one will show the you see how this one is kind of a smooth finish, and that has kind of a duller finish to it. So there is a difference on that. I don't know why those are smooth, but that's another thing to pay attention to. But it takes a little bit of work, but it can be done, and then you'll have fully chrome handles. That's it.